But first, Victoria's second wave of this coronavirus has so far claimed 753 lives, and almost every case, 99.9% in fact, can be traced back to the failure of hotel quarantine that was put into the hands, as we know, of untrained bouncers rather than the police and the military, as in every other state. Today, Health Minister Jenny Mikakos was the latest person in authority to say she had no idea who made the decision to put private security guards in charge, a decision which must now count as one of the most catastrophic blunders in Australian government history.
Well, I'm responsible for my own department, but this was a program that was involved many departments and agencies, and therefore there is shared accountability there with those respective departments and agencies reporting to their respective ministers.
This is just the latest cop-out from senior figures in the government, each of them supposedly in charge of things, but none of them in charge of hotel quarantine, even though at that stage, hotel quarantine was the single most important function, the critical bulwark, if I can call it that, in keeping Victoria largely COVID-free. One after another, these highly paid Sergeant Schultz types have told the official inquiry that they knew nothing, or next to nothing, about the actual identity of who made that crucial mistake that made disaster inevitable. The Chief Health Officer said that he only learnt the private security firms were in charge after the outbreaks. The Emergency Management Commissioner said he understood that it was the police who'd had a preference for private security but didn't really know. He's the Emergency Management Commissioner. I mean, seriously. And then the Police Commissioner, the then Police Commissioner, denied that it had come from him. He claimed instead that it had come from the Department of Premier and Cabinet. But then the head of Premier and Cabinet said he was unaware who made the decision, and he didn't know. Earlier this week, the Secretary of the Department for Health and Human Services said that her department had overall responsibility for the pandemic response, but she didn't know who made the decision to use private security guards and claimed they weren't even consulted. And then the Secretary of the Department of Jobs said that he had commissioned the contracting of private security guards without a proper tender, I might add, despite it costing hundreds of millions of dollars. But he says he was only informed of a decision, not who actually made the decision. Yesterday, both the Police Minister and the Jobs Minister insisted that neither of them had made the decision and, of course, couldn't tell the inquiry who had. So let's run through it all again. Here you've got the Chief Health Officer, the Emergency Management Commissioner, the Police Commissioner, the Health Secretary, the Jobs Secretary, the Ministers for Health, Police and the Minister for Jobs, each of them whom could and one of them whom should have been in charge, all denying that any one of them had made the key decision, and all of them asserting that they didn't know who had. Complete and utter chaos. It's a diabolical mess, isn't it? I'm surprised that only 700 Victorians have sadly lost their lives with this sort of organisational disarray. We're lucky it wasn't hundreds, perhaps thousands more. Is it any wonder Victorians are suffering like no other state, both in terms of lives lost and businesses broken? All of these senior people earning up to $500,000 a year, all still in their jobs, going to meeting after meeting, exchanging text after text, reading email after email, but no one actually running the joint. No one remembering anything, and no one responsible. Well, tomorrow the Premier will front this inquiry at around 2 p.m. And like every other Victorian, I want answers. Last month, he told a parliamentary inquiry it was fundamentally incorrect to assert that there were hundreds of ADF staff on offer, and somehow someone said no. Yet here are the letters from the Prime Minister to the Premier offering just that support. July 4, July 6, July 11. Here it is again, black and white, from the letter on July 11. An estimated 1,000 ADF could be progressively deployed this way over the next week with greater scope beyond, said the Prime Minister to the Premier. Even before this COVID crisis, incompetence and dishonesty have been the hallmarks of the Andrews Victorian government, but now it's absolutely laid bare. If there was any honour left in our public life, everyone who should have known about the security guard's proposal and stopped it but didn't would resign. Every one of them, starting with the Premier.